Hello, welcome to All Today. We are back yet again this week. How is everyone doing?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad, Setzer. Cheston, what about yourself?
I am feeling fine.
Feeling fine? Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Glad everyone's doing well. Well, let's start with you, Cheston. What have you been playing this week?
I've had a lot of nice little experiences this week. I will start with the new hotness, so Derek can jump in and Setzer can go to sleep early on this Sunday afternoon. And that is the new Pokemon Snap. It's titled New Pokemon Snap. It's, hey man, it's Pokemon Snap.
It is Pokemon Snap.
And I am the kind of person who, when Nintendo puts the word new on anything, I get a little cautious. We've been burned too many times, and who could forget Yoshi's New Island, developed by Balan Wonderland Studio Arzest. Man, so that prefix does a lot for me.
And who could forget brand new Spankin' Doug? It was awful.
Yeah, that was really weird when they did that. That was
Went
way
to
worse than regular Doug.
he started the show with like a weird haircut. Unbelievable.
It's like that season of Fairly Odd Parents that only we remember.
Yeah, dark days.
Yeah. It's like that episode of Home Improvement with Scratch and Sniff that only I remember.
Well, I swear that exists.
When Al pops over the fence and he's been like digging around in some manure or something, and he, oh, ooh,
Tim let one rip, and there was a card for that.
Tam. Scratch 3. Well, anyways, the good news is that new Pokemon Snap seemingly doesn't follow in the footsteps of those other new games, because it actually does things that are new for its series, question mark? Not really a series, there's only been one game. But it iterates more than I thought it would. I was expecting this to be pretty bare bones, especially with how little I felt like had been communicated in the year since it was announced. It felt to me like it was setting up to be pretty much a shot-for-shot experience with the original, which was a delightful game, but it was also, I don't know, Derek, 2 hours long if you played it all
Yeah,
the way through?
it was short. The point was like you're supposed to try to get better and better photos, but if you were
Even then, it's still
if you were
short.
just to play straight through it, about 2 hours to
Yeah.
get the Mew.
Yeah, and that's even for someone who likes short games, that seems a little brief for $60. So I was a little nervous that it would be pretty much that, maybe a tad longer, but not being very far in myself, I'm at least 2 hours in, so I know it's longer than that. I've been impressed with how it has played with the mechanics of the original. I think my favorite thing is that, like in the original, every time you complete a run of your course, which is in little on rails, almost like a Disney World ride, basically, like one of those really slow Disney World rides. So once you complete one of those, you pick your pictures for each Pokemon that you want the Professor Muir, who sucks, to evaluate. And in the original game, you would pick a picture, he would evaluate it, and that'd be pretty much that.
Yes.
And you just be trying to get a better score. And so once you got a great picture of, say, Surfing Pikachu, you never really had another reason to take a picture of a Pikachu. Or, if you took one picture of something like Magikarp, well, I mean, how many pictures of Magikarp are you possibly going to take? Because there's only so many pictures that are going to get you a high score. And so in this game, instead, you get the score just like you did, but now there's an additional metric, which is a star rating system, which doesn't do what it sounds like. You'd think that'd be like, oh, this is a 5-star picture, so you win, best picture. But it's more like the stars correspond to the relative rarity of these pictures. So like a 1-star picture is literally just, here's the Pokemon, look at it. And then a 2-star picture might be the Pokemon striking like a neat little pose. A 3-star picture could be something like an agitated version of the Pokemon, and then a 4-star is usually something pretty unique to the character. Like,
That's where your Surfing Pikachu would come in.
right, this is where you're surfing Pikachu, or my new favorite, Yawning Torterra.
Yes. I don't know why that's a 4-star, but
I
there
don't
you go.
either, but I do like this system because for me, it makes those repeat run-throughs, which you have to do in this game to progress. It makes those repeats a lot more meaningful because, like I said, I get a picture of Magikarp on my first run. There he is splashing around. That's a 1-star picture. Maybe the next run I get a picture of him leaping in the air. There's a 2-star picture. Oh, here he is again. Let me try and see if I can get a 3-star pose. What could a Magikarp possibly do to warrant 3 stars? Oh, he bobs for apples. That's pretty cool. And so it adds another layer of puzzle solving and just playfulness to the game that the first one had plenty of, but this just adds to it. And given the fact that there's, I think, something like 200 Pokemon in this game, compared to the original 70, that's 4 unique photo opportunities for 200 characters, so that's, 800 different things to look for. So, if my worry was content, then this game really doesn't... I no longer have that worry anymore. I feel like this is actually a pretty meaty little experience, all things considered. How are you feeling about it so far, Derek?
Well, a couple thoughts. One, if Pokemon Sword and Shield looks like this game does, no one would have complained about Pokemon Sword and Shield. I think, graphically speaking, this game is amazingly beautiful. It's
Yeah, it's serene.
it's the console 3D Pokemon that they should be on current, like in 2021. That's what they should look like. My one complaint about this game is that I feel like they didn't bring back like being able to annoy a Pokemon into evolution.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I've played pretty far in. Well, not pretty far. I don't know how far I am, but I've probably played 8 or 9 hours, I think, and nothing seems to be triggering like evolution. Like I throw shit at Magikarp every chance I get to, in hopes that it'll do it. Nothing happens. Charmander, can't do the Charmeleon. I mean, I don't want it to be a shot for shot remake or anything, but I think one of my favorite things about Snap was forcing those kind of things. And also like stuff like Pikachu hatching a Zapdos egg. I don't get any of that. Now you still get Pokemon that can interact with the background. Like before this podcast, I did a snow level where I had a Sand Slash unlock a new route for me, which I thought was kind of cool. But I don't know. I kind of miss that stuff. But this is certainly more of a game than the previous one, and I think the way it handles online is really neat too. Just like where you have like a little pop-up window in it on top of like quests that Professor Mir and Todd from the N64 game give you. They also have like pictures people take online, and you can like give them a thumbs up or something. I think that's just neat, so you can see what other people are doing. You can add little stickers and stuff to your photos. It's neat. I think this is a very relaxing game if you have like, let's say you got to do something in like 30 minutes. If you want to play for like 20, this is the perfect game for that. It's just very relaxing.
I can confirm for you that there are no triggered evolutions.
Shameful.
Yeah, I, I, that's another. That was one that I wasn't super happy about that they got rid of. The only thing I can figure is that, to me, this that original game seems very tied in with the anime
Yes.
in a lot of ways, and so it was totally par for the course in the anime for like a Charmeleon to get real mad and become a Charizard. Like that was, that's how things worked. Or like a Slowbro would, or Slowpoke rather, would have a Shelder clamp onto its tail and then it would turn into a Slowbro. Like that stuff happened in the anime, but obviously that wasn't how it worked in the game, and this seems much more true to the games.
I suppose, but the Slowpoke thing is in the Pokedex, so
Is it?
yeah. So
Yeah. Well, I
the
mean,
same with Magikarp.
I don't like it. I think it's kind of a bummer that it's not there. I wouldn't be surprised if something like the Zapdos egg did happen though, because those were pretty rare in the first game. So I wouldn't be shocked if that was still there. But the evolutions, I know for sure I've heard aren't.
Well, there are things like you see like a Pokemon like digging somewhere and you poke at it, another
Yeah.
Pokemon will pop
Oh
up.
yeah,
So
there's still. I mean,
that's
I don't want to make it sound like there's no like surprise elements.
there are plenty.
Not microtransactions. I mean, there are plenty of surprise things to do with like in terms of puzzle solving. Like the first one I can think of is you're in this area with this big clump of dirt, and you can tell there's something in the dirt. And if you throw some apples out, a pincer emerges, and you can get some nice pictures of an angry-looking pincer.
Yeah, it's fun to experiment with the surroundings and see what you can make pop up. Like, there's a bunch of, like, I don't know, berries on the ground that are singed. And if you throw an apple at that pile, a mulga pops out of the trees and, like, shocks
Ew.
it.
Oh, hey, thanks. I was trying to figure out how to get that picture.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So if you throw an apple there, it'll pop down and it'll shock it, and you get a nice little 4-star photo of Emolga doing that. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, and I also want to say that I think the roster of Pokemon is pretty good. I think
I agree.
they didn't lean too heavily on Gen 1, which is what I was worried.
They do a good mix of Gen 1 and others.
Yeah, and that's good because you have to remember that the first Pokemon Snap, which came out in 1999, is so old now that there was only one generation at the time. So they had a lot of generations and a lot of time to cover, and it was nice to see some of the choices they made. Like, hey, Torterra's there. I didn't think he would make it. I didn't know people liked that Pokemon. I love Torterra. That's great.
Even though they're bringing back a bunch of Gen 1s, they also like do the alternate forms, so it's a little variety.
Oh, did
Because Vulpix and Sandslash are both their Alolan forms. Raichu's an Alolan form, so all sorts of different stuff.
I think I don't want to say I had low expectations, but I certainly didn't have much other than I was like, I would like to play a game kind of like that, but now.
I've been asking for this game probably for 10, 15 years, so I was certainly on board.
Yeah, I think it was worth. I think it actually ended up, despite some shortcomings in terms of like the evolutions is kind of a bummer. But other than that, I mean, I really think it's hard to say anything other than this being a success. Like, this is a nice little return to form.
Well, it surpasses the original. It's certainly more of a game. Even with my little complaint, it's like there's more to do.
Yeah, and you haven't finished. Do you know how long you've played?
I'd have to look, but like 8 or 9 hours, I think.
Yeah, I want to say I've probably played 2 or 3 hours, but I'm still only in the second map, you know, and so that's compared to the first game where you could play for 2 hours and there you have every little thing. That's pretty crazy.
Yes, and there are plenty of alternate routes and stuff. So if you want it to last
Yeah.
for a while, you can. Or if you
And
want to
it's
get
not
out,
like
you can.
and it's not like you're just like doing the same thing over and over on those maps, because I said I've only played 2 maps for 2 hours, and each run is like 5 minutes. So that might sound like it's just a lot of grinding, but every time you play a world, you unlock multiple versions of it, like a night version, and also as you get more experience in the world, different things happen in it. So it's really not like you're just doing the same route over and over and over with no change. The more you play, the more those routes change,
Yes,
which is, again, another nice little
it's a good idea.
iterative thing. Because like in the original, it was the same thing every single time you ran through it, no matter how many times you did it.
I guess one other slight complaint I have is that the final boss, so to speak, of the last game was Mew, and the whole point of that course was, you got to get a photo of Mew, and you had to like throw pester balls at it or something, and it would do a little spinaroo, and you could take a shot. And this one, they brought back the boss battles, and I don't know, I can kind of do without them because I feel like they're kind of boring. Like it's just like going through a course, and there's just one Pokemon there, and you're taking photos of it over and over again, and it's not for me, but
Is this like the special event, like the Meganium at the
yeah, like the
beginning?
Meganium. Yeah, there's multiples like that. There's a Milotic and a Volcarona and all sorts
Oh.
of stuff.
Yeah. Also, the voice acting isn't bad, which is surprising.
Well, yeah, but who gives a
For a,
shit about
for
the
a
story?
Nintendo game,
Yeah,
for a Nintendo game where I don't want there to be voice acting because I think it'll be terrible, this has surprisingly competent voice acting.
yes,
Like, I do not hate any of the characters' voices. So that's pretty cool. I like that game quite a bit. I'm looking forward to playing that a lot more over the next few weeks.
yeah.
Something that I won't be playing over the next few weeks because I appear to be halfway done with it is, and Derek, you've been waiting a long time for this. I finally played
Yakuza. No.
Bowser's Fury. No,
Ah.
after Bowser's Fury. No. I finally played Bowser's Fury, and this game is incredible.
It's awesome.
It's such a cool game. I cannot believe they just threw it in for free with a already pretty featureful Wii U port. Like, this is such a sweet cherry on top. I was just immediately bowled over. As soon as Bowser popped up and that music played, that stupid little guitar riff,
Yes.
I was just so into this. If this is like a proof of concept for what another Mario on the Switch could look like,
Bring
then
it on.
absolutely sign me up. This is the real deal. Like, this is, and for me, I had as much fun with this as I did the entire thing of Odyssey. It is just so creative and so different from anything they've ever done with Mario.
Yeah, it's like open world Mario, just about.
And the way that it does the open world is very true to the classic 3D Mario games, because you have all these separate little levels, basically, with these little level gates. But of course, you can choose the order that you do most of them in when you unlock a section. And when you're within each section, each separate level, when you finish the main goal, it doesn't appear that there's much to do other than these little side collectibles. And then you hop out, go to another one, and come back, and then, whoa, the next star objective has shown up. Here it is. You can chase this Shadow Mario or grab this key. It's just so cool. Like, it's weird because I'm so used to playing Mario's games in the same way that I might, like, I don't know, read a really comfy book, watch a TV show I've watched before. Like, it's just comfort food. But this is so different that it takes me back to playing something like 64 for the first time. Whereas, like, wow, I just have no idea what the next section is going to be like. Like, you have, oh, wow, this is the Coliseum, that's cool. Or, oh, now I'm going to hop on Plessy and do these little side objectives. Like, this is fantastic. I love it.
There are 100 cat shines in the game. I think it takes about 6 hours to 100%.
I don't know. I played it for an hour and a half, and I have 45.
Wow, look at you, fast boy.
I would have probably played all the way through if I didn't have to make lunch for my child.
Dang kid.
Yeah, I know. Just starve. Let me finish this game. I really don't have much to say about it other than I think it's fantastic. I wish they would sell it separately so more people could play it, because I think it would be a great little $20 eShop game for people who maybe don't want to rebuy a Wii U game, which I can totally understand.
I don't respect it.
Yeah, I think if more people played this, they'd be on board for this in the future. And really, the only thing I can even say about this that I don't like is that I think that the whole idea is that you're doing this open world thing, and you have this basically anime character, anime villain Bowser, goop monster in the center, and he wakes up every so often. I think he wakes up too often. Other than that, I really don't have anything bad to say about this. It's a really small complaint.
It's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, and even though he shows up often, every time he shows up, you could hear that great music. So
yes,
it's like it's a lose-win. Lose, you have to deal with his nonsense for 2 minutes. Win, you get this great guitar lick that is just very nice.
it's top notch. Yeah,
It is. This is a really pleasant surprise. I heard people talking about it. I know you liked it quite a bit, but I just really didn't expect for what is more or less the bonus content on a port to be the best thing I've played this year.
yeah,
so
yeah,
far.
yeah. Rules.
It's nice. I am both glad I waited for it and disappointed that I sat there with this game for so long with this little hidden gem right under my palms. I could have been evangelizing this for 2 months now. But
Could have been, but you
yeah,
put it
all
off.
good. All's well that ends well. I think I would give this my highest recommendation. So, Setzer, are you gonna buy this game now?
Huh? What? What game?
Yeah,
Huh?
you gonna buy this game when you get your Switch, your wife's Switch?
Probably not.
No.
An open world game with no crafting and gathering? What's the fun in that?
I
You
guess
can't
that's
upgrade Mario's coveralls? Plus
Uh,
2% jump speed?
oh, that's a good point.
oh man, plus 5% firepower.
My
Oh man,
gloves of greater Koopa throwing.
true. It's too simplistic.
It makes my Koopa shells spin 1% faster when I throw them.
There
Whoa!
aren't enough numbers. It needs more numbers.
If you hop on a Goomba, a number should pop up. 14,000.
Why did I choose the future where turn-based RPGs are killed and all of their guts have spilled all over all the other games I like?
I know. If only people realize that turn-based RPGs are the best genre.
I realized too late.
You realize your mistake at least.
Forgive me for I've sinned.
Clearly, hey, you got a whole PlayStation era that goes through.
I know.
There are some good ones.
I do. I can still go back and play these PS1 games.
You can spend $300 on Xenosaga Episode 3.
I was
That
actually
is
saving.
limited.
I was saving my $300,000 for the Queen's Golden Wii.
Next up, Setzer, I hear you don't have a lot to play this week, but you got other stuff to talk about.
I did have some time to download Titanfall 2 on PC this weekend and show up for the big community event on Saturday. And let me tell you, this game is still amazing. 5 years later, it never got its due, which is a huge shame. If you're in the mood for first-person shooter, if you want to play something fast and furious, or if you just like giant robots like I do, Titanfall 2 is your game.
I didn't actually talk about this because I only played an hour, but I actually also downloaded Titanfall 2 this week. and
No
played it.
kidding.
I did
That's
because
shocking to me.
it got the performance boost on Series S,
Mhm.
and I don't really actually think it did anything on my Series S because I think it was already 60 frames per second. Isn't that right?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
not a very
so-
pretty game.
Well, they upgraded it to 120, and of course my TV doesn't have 120 hertz. But it was still a good excuse to download it anyways, because that first hour is something. That is another really cool game, much like Bowser's Fury.
Mhm.
Fast and Furious is a great way to describe it because it plays like a platformer shooter almost. It's
Yeah, like
pretty
a
nifty.
first-person platformer.
Yeah, and and I'm not really a big mech person, but
What
it's
an
hard
idiot.
not to be. I know.
No.
It's hard not to be just in love with the anytime you get into BT and start, running down other mechs. It just has such a
Mhm.
great feeling of impact to it. Like the sense of scale is there. It's a really cool game. I'm looking forward to keeping with that one actually.
Yeah, definitely go through the campaign. It's not very long.
I've heard that's why I'm there. I've heard the campaign is fantastic.
Yeah,
It-
yeah.
So far,
I
yes.
play the campaign like every year-ish, so I can beat it in like 3 hours just fucking around. I think my first time took me probably about 6 hours,
hmm
all told. So, yeah, definitely smell the roses. Feel free to look for the pilot helmet, collectibles, that sort of stuff, because it's a lot of fun if you take your time.
Yeah, Derek,
Uh,
if you need to be sold on this, besides what Setzer said, you remember that game Brink?
I do.
Yeah, remember how it sucked?
I do.
Yeah, but it had some cool ideas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, imagine if it didn't suck.
Well, I
had
own
robots.
I own Titanfall 2, so I could certainly play it.
You should probably play it.
I have the Ultimate
Get in
Edition.
there.
Yeah, there's something about like getting out of a cover and then running full force, sliding through a bunch of enemies, turning around 180 degrees and just tanking them all out, and then getting in your mech and queuing up 3 homing rockets to take out a bunch of other robots. Like, I don't know how this game doesn't get more love than it does.
Well, if you recall, in 2016 when it released, it was 1 week after the latest Battlefield game and 1 week
Right.
before the latest Call of Duty.
They
Right?
set it
did
out to
send it up.
fail
They did.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did.
because they
But
wanted to
it's-
acquire the studio. That's all
But
there
it's
is
had a
to it.
nice. It's had a nice little afterlife too.
I will say, after you finish the campaign, don't be afraid to play the Frontier Defense multiplayer mode. That's multiplayer versus AI, and it's a
Okay.
lot of fun.
Is it comparable to anything that I would have experience with? Like, is it like a horde mode type of thing?
Yeah, basically. Basically, it's like wave defense, horde
Okay.
mode, but it's a really good opportunity to play with the other Titans.
Mm-hmm.
and some of the other weapons that you don't see as much in the campaign. So definitely check it out.
I'll have to. But anyways, I totally took over your thing. How was Community Day?
The best of times and the worst of times, because as a multiplayer event, it shines a light on just how great this game is and some of its worst aspects. One, this is going to seem petty, but I hate these multiplayer games where it's like, okay, if you do this challenge or that challenge, you get this skin, right?
So you hate all of the multiplayer games?
Right. Yes, basically. But I really hate the idea where it's like, oh, if you kill 50 guys with this gun, right? Let's say, you get the pink skin. And if you kill 75, you get the blue skin. And if you kill 100, you get the orange skin, right? I hate this because who's to decide that orange is a cooler color than blue or something like that?
Well, they'd be
it's so
wrong.
arbitrary. It frustrates me.
Yeah. I'm with you. That stuff sucks. It sucked in Team Fortress 2 way back, and it still sucks.
The other much worse thing is that this game never really had the population numbers to support skill-based matchmaking. So you can be like a fresh-faced junior level 1 guy, and you can just get matched up with like level 900 guys who are just there to bend you over. And I think that that's, kind of not really excusable anymore to be making your game that way. I get it in Titanfall 2's case. Due to the low population, there's not really much of a choice, but a lot of games still do this, and, I just think it's kind of ridiculous to be like, hey, why aren't you enjoying the game when you log in and you just get blown apart instantly and no chance to play? Like, I'm a middle of the pack player in Titanfall 2. I consistently get like middle of the scoreboard, except in the Titan modes. Titan modes, I'm like almost always top of the board, but in the pilot modes, I'm middling. And even for me, it can be frustrating sometimes. So I can't imagine being the kind of guy with like, a .1 KDA, and you're just running around like a headless chicken, getting slaughtered again and again and again. I think maybe this game wouldn't have had such a population drop off if people were appropriately matched. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that. That's especially for a game that old. At this point, the people who are still playing are generally going to be much better. So that doesn't really.
Low population. What can you do?
Yeah.
Play
Sure.
Apex Legends.
Yeah, it's funny.
Don't start that.
This whole population boom is because of Apex Legends. They announced that the daughter of a fan favorite Titanfall character would be coming to Apex Legends, and so people started playing Titanfall 2 again.
Thanks,
I
Apex.
will say, one of my buddies, back when Apex Legends came out a couple years ago, one of my buddies asked me to play it with him, and I played like one round, and you're just wandering around this huge map, and you hardly see anyone, and then you just die.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I played like 2 rounds. Like, this is not for me.
I have
Yeah,
yet
yeah.
to play it.
I've played both this and Fortnite. I guess the hotness for the free-to-play stuff, and I think Fortnite is far more approachable.
I think at this
not
point,
for me either.
Apex is like a distant third because Warzone's in there.
But, oh, true.
Yeah,
Well, we'll get to Warzone
yeah.
later, buddy. So
Please don't. I don't want to get to Warzone.
It's coming. But yeah, that's pretty much the only video games I got to play this week. I did have some time to catch up on some giant robot anime. Gundam Info, the official Gundam YouTube channel, uploaded the HD remaster of Gundam Wing.
Excellent.
And I'm about 20-ish episodes in, and man, this does not hold up.
I was so sad to hear because I loved this show when it was on Toonami back in the day.
Me
I-
too.
I even used to stay up till 2 in the morning to watch like uncut Gundam Wing on like they used to have like Toonami After Dark before Adult Swim, and I would watch this and I loved it. I used to
Yeah.
write like in 7th grade English. I would write like stories for class about Gundam Wing.
Yeah.
It was my jam.
Yeah, I was in 2nd grade when I was watching this, and I can remember like trying to draw the Gundams, and I had like a Dragon Gundam Gunpla that I put together and all that.
I had Death Scythe.
I was
Yeah.
never as into Gundam as either of you. I did watch it because Derek and I watched Toonami religiously, and so went one of us, so went the other back then. And I hadn't really thought about it in a long time, and I listened to some podcast where they were talking about Gundam and the history of Gundam. Some of the anime, some of the games, like some of those things, just kind of a big picture thing. And they started talking about Wing, and they talked about it in such a dismissive tone, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. So it's so disheartening to hear that it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. It's like almost an inversion of 0079, the original Gundam series from 1979, where it's like you can just feel the 90s just sloughing off Wing, where it's like, this really melodramatic, cynical boy band, edgy.
Yeah, I remember the main character Hito Yui being basically like a human Shadow the Hedgehog.
It's almost like that Zoomer and the Boomer meme, right?
Yeah.
When you've got the Boomer 0079, and it's just Char looking for personal revenge. And then here, it's this like complicated political scenario. It's just so ridiculous. It's so over the top.
Is it like fun to watch though? Like fun in a bad way, or?
I've probably slept through 2 or 3 of the episodes I've watched.
Oof.
I will say I still love the tall geese.
Oh yeah.
That design still holds up. A lot of the designs hold up. And the animation, if you like animation from that era, it's still really nice looking.
Well, I don't doubt it.
Song, the opening theme is still a bop, as they say.
Yeah.
But the story and characters are just so ridiculous. Like, I can understand why people got so hooked on it, because it's so in line with the 90s zeitgeist. Watching it now as like an adult, a grown man with a full-time job and a wife, it's just so ridiculous to me.
That's a shame.
I mean, I recommend like watching the first few episodes just to like get a taste, get a hit of nostalgia.
Chase it.
It does not hold up.
That's a shame.
Don't tell me that Endless Waltz is actually a bad movie too.
I don't think Gundam Info uploaded Endless Waltz actually, so I don't
Damn.
have a chance to relive the
Alright.
90s on that one.
You're saved.
When that aired on Toonami, that was a big day for me. I tell you.
I don't remember anything about it, but I remember liking that one.
Oh, me too. Anything else on the anime review there, Setzer?
Yeah, continuing the giant robot theme, I tuned in for Pacific Rim The Black on Netflix. And
Yeah?
this...
Is that a new movie?
No, it's a 7-episode series.
Mm.
And it is one of the most bizarre things I've watched. If you were to come to me having watched this series and said it's bad, I would say I agree. If you said you were neutral on it, I would say that's fair. If you said this is a good show, I would be laughing in your face. It's just so strange. It's so strange. It's 7 episodes, right? Okay, compared to something like Gurren Lagann, which is 26 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the first episode of The Black is equivalent to like the entire first half of Gurren Lagann.
Oof, that's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, and then the next 6 episodes are kind of like maybe 3-4 episodes of Gurren Lagann.
Wow, so it slows to a crawl.
Yes. And of course, being a Netflix series, it's all about the questions and the mystery boxes and not really having any plot or arc or development in the per season. It's about drawing it out
Yeah.
as long as you can, right? The premise here is the kaiju, the giant monsters, have basically conquered Australia. And the Pacific Defense Force has decided that, there's just no sense in trying to defend Australia. It's lost.
The
So
internet's
this
way
is a-
better.
So wait, so this is based on a true story then, huh?
Yeah, basically. You didn't think it was possible, but the Australian wildlife is even deadlier now. Um, but it's set in Australia, right?
Yeah.
They just hired American voice actors anyway. So there's like 3 characters in the entire show with Australian accents, and 2 of them die. One of them dies in like the first 5 minutes, and then the other one dies like the episode after he's introduced. And then the third one is like the big bad guy who is just like, oh, I'm a crazy man, I'm like a Joker mob boss kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
Like he's not like a clown like the Joker, like a literal clown.
He's like unhinged.
Yeah, but he's a psycho and he just shoots people. He's got a band of like 30, 40 guys probably, and he just like kills them wantonly, and he threatens them all the time, and he's always like, if you don't do this task for me by the end of the day, I'm gonna blow your fucking head off. And they just take it and they commiserate about it. They're like, yeah, man, he told me if I don't do this thing, he's gonna kill me. And like, yeah, dude, if I don't get this done by the end of the week, I'm gonna die too. And it's like, look, just shoot this guy, just kill him.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of living like this? It's so ridiculous to me. And the plot is like, it reminds me of when I was a boy and I would run in and out of the house and playing outside, and my dad would go, hey, in or out, make a choice, in or out.
Yeah, I remember stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up,
it's
Derek.
they're
We never went
constantly
outside.
just, like, running in circles and making stupid decisions. And I don't even mean like in the moment emotional decisions. I mean like just bona fide dumb decisions. Very similar to Attack on Titan as well. They do this thing where like a nameless guy will see he's about to get killed, and it'll like cut to his horrified face, and then cut to the thing that's about to kill him, and then it kills him in like some, totally trivial, embarrassingly pointless way, like he gets stepped on or something. And then it cuts to like a named character having like a terrified reaction, screaming no, or crying, or choking back tears, or something like that. Spoilers for Pacific Rim the Black Episode 7, Season 1 finale. They have like a little boy, a little anime boy, he's 3 feet. They rescue him from like an underground lab, right? And he can transform into a giant monster, just like in Attack on Titan. And it's just...
They're saying it's like a shameless ripoff of a more popular show.
I wouldn't say it's a ripoff. I would say it's like
Inspired by?
tropey. It's very tropey. The circle is complete because Pacific Rim, which borrowed very obviously and intentionally from, mecha and kaiju anime and older Japanese movies, is now itself an anime and is like absorbing the tropes of other anime.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does, yeah.
And the animation on this thing is just like insanely bad too. Like I recommend watching a clip of it and seeing like, I mean, this is looking like Monster Rancher for the PS2 at some point.
Oh, hell yeah.
Bizarrely bad.
I'm in.
Like there's worse ways to spend 2.5 hours. I was like cackling, howling with laughter.
Yeah, it almost sounds so bad it's good.
Yeah, kind of. It has its moments.
Okay. Well, I'd be down to give it a shot. I mean, I think everyone in the world's got a Netflix subscription at this point, so why not?
Of course, they've already confirmed Season 2 is on the way.
All right.
Yeah, so I recommend it in a so bad it's good capacity.
Oh, I might have to give that a spinaroo.
You do realize that you've opened the door to future episodes where Derek and I bitch about the Cubs, or God forbid, talk about wrestling.
No.
Well, I draw the line at wrestling, so the Cubs, I can just sleep through that.
Yeah, we're gonna become a general nerd culture podcast. We're gonna start talking about the MCU, like and all the plans for that.
I sometimes watch a few episodes of anime.
And then
Listen
complain
here.
about it.
I don't complain about the anime that I watch now. I enjoy My Hero, which is a stupid show.
You need to watch Gurren Lagann. Now that's a show.
I will not watch Gurren.
The only reason you have not to watch it is because you think the name's silly.
You're right.
So I'm gonna close this week, and I'll be quick because Cheston already talked about Snap. So I'm gonna say that I finished up Nier. I finished it. To answer everyone's question from last week, is this a remake or a remaster? I am in the remaster camp with remastered with a little bit of added content. It reminds me of I played Dot Hack GU a little bit last year, and it had like that extra episode 4, which is like 2 hours long. And to me, the extra content is similarly done. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours of more stuff. I think this game is really great and interesting, and it makes you feel things. So I recommend it to anyone that wants something a little different. I will say that I think it's great that they kept to the vision of it and didn't like change a bunch of shit for the remaster to make it more convenient. However, that doesn't mean I think they should have done that in every case. I think they could have easily combined 3 of the endings into one ending. I replayed the second half of the game twice, and I should not have had to do that because the second time I skipped pretty much every cutscene, and I was like, "This is so obnoxious," and I think it's great. I think it's worth the hype. So check it out if you want. I know neither of you will, but check it out.
No way.
I might someday. I need to go back and beat Automata.
My main takeaway is that from what I've gathered, the only big change was like this game plays more like Automata than it plays like the original, but doesn't like it's not like a huge departure from the original. So I'm looking at the way this game is and how like thoughtful and different it is, and then I'm looking at review scores from the era, and I'm like, what were these reviewers like? Were they playing the same game? I don't see how a game so thoughtful and different and interesting could like score so abysmally. So I think I don't know. It's just like back in the day, like when PS1 stuff first came out, and they would shit on 2D games because they were in the past. I think it just shows that game critics have never been good. They just go with trends, and they when they see innovation, they kind of ignore it until it becomes popular. So, because now if you look at the Nier remastered reviews, they're all glowing, and people are talking about how they need therapy from it, which, by the way, is an extreme overreaction. It's a good story, but you don't. I feel like it's a way of saying like, "Oh, this touched me." I don't think it's that deep. I think people try to intellectualize this game a little bit more than it needs to.
That
But
itself is a trend.
yeah, I absolutely agree. Some minor spoilers here, but if you're familiar with Spec Ops: The Line, it does something kind of similar to that with a revelation about the bad guys in the game.
You're the bad guy?
Well, in some ways, but I mean, like it's revealed at some point like the bad guys are like you think they're mindless monsters, but they're actually like not. And so, like through your second playthrough, you're seeing things from their perspective, and like you're seeing your protagonist as like this fucking demonic bastard, and it takes like your character's literally slaughtering children at some point, but you don't realize it, and it's certainly weird.
Is it as ham-fisted as Spec Ops: The Line?
It is way better written than Spec Ops: The Line. I feel like I touched on Nier pretty well last week, so I don't have much else to add to that. So that's all I played other than Pokemon Snap. So I am good to go on the news unless you had any questions.
I saw you play Disgaea, so I know you're lying, but...
Oh, I play Disgaea pretty much every night, but it's not worth talking about.
I know it's not.
And Disgaea 6 comes out in June. So
God help you.
So I will talk about Disgaea then, but but for now I have nothing to add.
Matt Booty, head of Xbox Game Studios, posted on the official Xbox blog this week reaffirming Microsoft's continued dedication to integrating its PC and console efforts. Highlights include more multi-platform releases, PC-specific graphics options like ultra-widescreen support in upcoming games like Halo Infinite, and ongoing development of back-end technologies like DirectX 12. I have to say, the Xbox is not too enticing given this news, and I really appreciate them making that decision.
If you have a PC, why would you, like a good PC? You don't really need an Xbox. I have one, but it's more of a I am lazy and I like to play on my TV, and I don't want to drag my big PC around. But if your PC's hooked up to your TV, why? Well, you wouldn't need an Xbox ever,
Yeah.
unless you care about backwards compatibility like I do. But otherwise, you wouldn't need one.
Well, even then, a lot of those games probably have PC ports.
Yeah, that's
Or
true.
emulators.
Or
Yeah.
emulators. Well, those
You know,
360 emulation is not great.
I think Microsoft has
No.
made it pretty clear, and they continue to make it clear, that they really don't care where you play, as long as you have a Game Pass subscription of sorts.
Yeah,
Or
that's
if
what
you
they care
don't,
about.
they'll get you for $60 a pop every few years when they have something worth popping for. So
Well, it makes me think that third party is in their future. Like they're just gonna straight up just ditch their consoles at some point.
I
I don't
don't
know.
think so. I don't think that's a reality. I think their consoles are doing very well, so
Yeah,
I don't see why they would do
it's
that.
just such a strange strategy. You just don't see this very
No,
much
not
because, like
really.
with Sony, like they do release stuff on PC, but like I think Horizon Zero Dawn came out like 3 years after it was on PS4.
Yeah, and it wasn't a
It's
good port either, so
not. I think it's been fixed, but
has it? Okay, that's good. But yeah, I think they have very different philosophies. I think if Microsoft had their druthers, Game Pass would be on PS5 and Switch. So
I think so too.
I think at the end of the day, if you're paying them a subscription fee, they really don't care.
They want your money. It's like
They do.
Costco.
They do.
It's about
Hey, Halo
lowering the
Infinite's still
barrier to
coming out.
entry.
Yes, exactly. Make your games as available to as many
Yeah.
people as possible.
Well, that's great. I mean, that is great. I mean, even if you just have a phone, the xCloud is now possible on iPhone. So it's
Oh, they rated every game individually.
no, there's a back end
Oh.
through a browser app. So
Oh, good.
they're doing that, which, hey, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to do it. It's not how I want to play my games, but I'm sure somebody wants it like that.
Some insane person, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they
say,
have
there's a sucker
resources.
born every minute.
Yep,
That's why FIFA's still in the black.
absolutely.
Speaking of PC, TechSpot's Cohen Coberly writes that recent GDC survey revealed PC to be the favored platform for North American and European developers. Sadly, Stadia ranked dead last in the results. What do you think the difference would be if they had polled more Japanese developers?
Japanese was said phone, 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 phone.
Yeah, it would have been phones and Switch would be
Yeah.
at the top.
The results aren't terribly surprising to me. I think big developers like power, and PC lets you kind of go as crazy as you want with that. And then popularity is second. So
I mean, yeah, if you're a developer, what are you going to prefer? A closed system where you have to make sure you hit an exact certain amount of specs, or a system where you can just go ham? And then at
exactly.
the end, you should probably optimize it to make sure it works on a lot of different platforms. But still, you're not as constrained. I mean, obviously, you're going to prefer that model.
Yeah, and so the second one being PS5, new hotness. People want their games to be played, so there you go. And I feel like the indie people ought to love the Switch because that's where games get dumped. So the results aren't surprising. Stadia being dead last, also not surprising. I think a lot of people feel the same way we all feel about Google, but they don't publicize it.
Does that mean that Luna is ahead of Stadia, or is Luna just not even on the
Luna's probably too irrelevant to be
Yeah, I
listed.
doubt
Did
Luna's
that even come out? Did that come out?
That's
I
out.
don't know.
Can I get
think.
a Luna? Here, let me go to www.amazon.com/Luna and see if I can buy one right
I'm
now.
gonna say if you Google Luna, you just get Sailor Moon's cat.
It's true. I just searched Luna. Okay. Oh, some sleep aids. Here it is Cloud Gaming from Amazon. Request early access. Not
Oh,
out.
or not out.
Do I have to pay if I request early access?
I would hope not, because you're beta testing, so you're doing them a service, so they shouldn't charge you for
Hey,
that.
I'm in.
Hey,
All right.
well,
Congratulations.
I don't know, Setzer, does this all make sense to you? This, like, the order of things?
Yeah, I think the big draw of PC is how malleable the architecture is. More than just the specs. Most software, the vast majority of software is written for an x86 64 platform now. So it makes sense to write your games that way too. all these games, even if they end up on the PS5 or Xbox, they're made on PC.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that it's just easier to, take this kind of flexible, open, and ubiquitous architecture rather than having to conform to like the specific documented APIs that and the specific architecture that Sony and Microsoft have curated. I realize the benefits of that kind of approach have been in the news with like Returnal using the 3D sound chip on the PS5, but I think a lot of developers would just kind of rather create software rather than use those little niceties.
Gimmicks.
Yeah, basically.
So funny looking at the Luna library. It's kind of like, when you're on streaming platforms and like Hulu and Amazon Prime end up having a lot of crossover. You kind of get into some of the same things.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of the same with this and Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like some of the smaller things like, oh, crosscode. Hey, alright, that's there. Oh, cool. Control. Alright. It's a lot. Oh, No More Heroes.
Oh, I didn't know that was on.
I might actually play. I'll try that. And No More Heroes 2.
Wow.
Actually, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I don't. I'm gonna try it later. I'm sure it's bad, but as far as libraries go, it could be worse.
Could be
There's some
worse.
good stuff on here.
I don't want to give Amazon money.
Well, Microsoft isn't the only console house staying the course. Twinfinite's Giuseppe Nelva writes that during a quarterly conference call, Sony Chief Financial Officer Hiroki Totoki reaffirmed the company's intention to, quote, aggressively invest in first-party games and continuing partnerships with external studios. Totoki also expects PS5 shortages to continue throughout the current fiscal year. Is any of this unexpected?
No.
No.
No. Why would they change course? They're making a ton of money. I may not like their course, but it's profitable.
It seems to be doing well.
But I mean, when they say they're gonna put first-party development, I'm like, okay, so you're just gonna make more Last of Us and more God of War, and that's call it in a day. So I'm like, well, I don't know what they mean by external projects. I suppose like,
Stuff like Returnal.
oh, okay.
But is Returnal external? I thought they bought Housemarque.
I don't think they did, but I could
Okay.
be wrong.
Well, but Housemarque it's one of those things like Insomniac used to be, where it's like, okay, they
Second
might not
party.
be Sony owned, but they sure are always developing for Sony platforms, because they did Resogun and Super Stardust in those games.
Oh, that's who that makes. Okay.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's who.
I hadn't heard of Returnal until, I don't know, like 4 days ago. Is the only reason people talking about this game is because it's a PS5 exclusive?
I've heard it's actually quite good.
It's the first big, like, new game really since these consoles came out.
Since Demon's Souls.
Unless you count the medium on Xbox. Yeah, that's kind of why this game's a big deal.
It is interesting that now that you mention it, like if I think about solely next gen games, Demon's Souls is like the only one until this
Right.
point.
Right.
So
And that's a
I
remake.
watched
yeah, it is a remake. Yeah.
I watched this on Twitch the other day, and it does actually look pretty good. So
Okay.
I don't know. I read some things that give me pause, like the fact that it's a roguelite with these hour-long runs, and there's no way to suspend it.
Mhm.
I don't like that.
If you quit, the game treats you quitting like you dying. So that's not great.
And it locks your PS5 so you can't go to other applications and stuff like that.
Yeah, some of those things. It seems like some of the technical stuff around it, but it looks really pretty. It kind of reminds me, aesthetic-wise, something like a Metroid-ish a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, the roguelike stuff, whatever. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's not amazing, but it's not like there's a whole bunch of other PS5 games. So
I like they should give you an option to like save mid run and quit. Like I
Well,
don't think there's
yes.
anything. It's not like cheapening the run. You can't save scum, so I don't see what the problem would be.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I
Pretension.
can't
Yeah.
I played Hades, and let me tell you, if I couldn't suspend some of those runs, I probably wouldn't have played Hades. So
Yeah.
that's a deal breaker for me personally. But I also was not the target for
Well,
this
because
game.
sometimes like you only have like 30 minutes to play a game or something, and that's it. So, Cheston, I hear that there's some Nintendo news you want to talk about.
I really don't know how we haven't talked about it so far. I feel like this should be leading the nightly news pretty much every night for the next few weeks. So Nintendo finally updated Super Mario Party.
Oh my God.
It's a 2.5-year-old game, has not seen any updates at all since it came out, and finally, after 2.5 years, out of nowhere, drops an update, adds the most complained about feature of all, which is the game didn't have online play. Guess what? Now it does. So Derek, we're gonna fire this up. We're gonna play some Mario Party.
No,
Oh,
this is the worst Mario Party.
that's absolutely not true.
It's not the worst, but the boards are too small. It's got a kind of a, I don't know, haphazard mix of mini games.
I
Just not my
don't
favorite
agree with
thing.
that at all. You haven't played it enough to talk about the minigames. The minigames are excellent. So
They made
they're
it so
crazy.
stars are 10 coins each. I don't like that.
It's balanced around how long the game is.
I don't like the goofy dice gimmick where everyone's got their own
That
gimmicky
is
dice.
insane. You are just ridiculous. If you don't like that, I don't know what to do for you. That's probably one of the coolest features.
It makes every character unique, I suppose.
It does. It adds a layer of strategy and
The
fun.
boards are too small for it to matter.
No, that's not
They're
true.
like 5 spaces.
All right, play me. You come play me.
You play me
and-
1v1.
Yeah, watch me beat your ass and tell me that it doesn't matter that I know how to use the dice and you don't.
Okay.
I'll humble you in front of your wife in Mario Party.
Oh man, imagine
I'll
the
show her.
embarrassment.
I'll demonstrate my superiority at a primal level. I'll use
The
Donkey Kong.
superior breed.
Yeah, the
superior
apex spread.
player.
I'll use Donkey Kong to show what a dominant, how I am the dominant species. You can be Diddy Kong because you're subservient to me,
Sure.
and probably you are the little spoon because Diddy Kong I'm pretty sure is the little spoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for Donkey Kong.
That's
Read that on fanfic.net.
yeah, no kidding. That's a.
Well, yeah, Kitty Kong watches.
Oh my god.
Well, he's got to. He's a baby. He's got to sleep in the same room. He has no choice.
In all seriousness, here it is. It is surprising that they updated this thing. I mean, it's 2 years old. Usually, I would say like Nintendo's just gonna make another one, and then the feature will be online play. So it's kind of nice they did this.
I think they will make a new one. My only theory for this is maybe in their work on the new one, they figured out a way to do the online that doesn't suck, and so they put it out there for now. But then when the new one comes out, it'll have new mini games and new maps and all these other things. That's my pie in the sky dream. I'd really like that.
I mean, truthfully, they need to make that 3DS Mario 100 game and put it on the Switch, but add boards to it. Then it's a perfect Mario Party game. But
You
They
know
won't
what
do
I
that.
would really like. What the real reason I'm excited about this is because if they're updating this game which is developed by Indie Cube, developer of Clubhouse Games,
oh
then
my,
maybe we'll finally get an update for that game too.
online Clubhouse games.
It's already online.
Oh wow.
I meant more like 4-player bowling. Huh?
Oh
Yeah.
yay. But in my opinion, Mario Party is a game meant to be played in person on a couch. So
I agree.
online play doesn't
That's
appeal to
also
me at
really
all.
hard right
Well,
now. So
true.
we have another friend who we're gonna play Mario Party with soon because he likes Super Mario Party. And when we're in person, we'll play the 64 game. But hey, we can't play those online right now, so we'll have this for online and those for in person. And how great is that?
That's completely fair.
A fantastic game. Can't
It's-
believe you would besmirch it like that on this podcast.
It's okay.
It's one of the top 10 Switch games.
It's no Sonic Shuffle.
It's at least 3 Sonic Shuffles.
Sure.
It's definitely better than Pac-Man Fever.
It's no Crash Bash.
Oh, God, and to think Toys for Bob won't be able to give us Crash Bash.
No. Ugh. So let's get into it.
And finally this week, even more sad news from Activision Blizzard. In a story that might have been satire 10 years ago, VGC's Tom Ivan writes that nearly every single one of the publisher's studios has now been relegated to a support role for the Call of Duty Warzone Battle Royale. Spyro Reignited and Crash Bandicoot 4 studio Toys for Bob, known for its Skylanders series several years ago, has also been hit with layoffs in light of its reassignment.
These motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is troublesome. Activision is not looking for popularity points. You have like a pretty universally loved Tony Hawk game last year. That studio gets absorbed in the Blizzard to slave away on Overwatch, I think. Toys for Bob now into the Call of Duty mines. That sucks, man. It was kind of nice having Crash and Spyro back, even if I wasn't so big on Crash. It was nice to have them around, you know?
Crash 4 is one of the best 3D platformers ever made, and to think that the reward for their work is to toil on Call of Duty alongside like how many studios now? Like, I know there used to be 3, and now we're looking at 4, 5, 6. I mean, that's probably a stupid number of people working on this game.
This is why I bitch about popular things like Battle Royales. This is what they do.
I really wouldn't be shocked if this becomes something of a model for other publishers.
Well, they want money, so
Well,
I guess
they
this
want
is where the
money,
money
and
is.
they figured out that these small experimental things on the side maybe aren't producing the same way that their one big product is, and so let's all get behind our one big thing, all hands on deck, and let's make sure our cash cow's doing well, and we won't be spending money on anything else, so we should be way in the black now.
They got their whales, so.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it mostly because it's Toys for Bob, but just in general, I hate it. How many talented people are working on freaking Warzone?
Well, I feel like Activision was like kind of trying to redeem itself in the public eye very briefly by doing these like long wanted games and remasters and stuff. And then there's like,
nice.
Well, I'm saying like maybe EA took over the ultimate villain role briefly.
Yeah.
But then Activision is like, well, bottom line here, Bobby Kotick can only afford 2 yachts this year. So I think we need to go back to the old way. And
yeah,
they did.
Well, their history is always like chasing these big trends. And they were always riding these trends like skateboarding or music games or Toys to Life. And now they've decided that the only trend they need to follow, the only one, is the games as a service model.
Right.
And so they're just going to totally double down on that, triple down, quadruple down.
And so thank you, Destiny. Thank you, Fortnite. You ruined video games.
Forever.
Yep.
God dang it. Well, oh well. At least Super Mario Party got updated.
Yeah, we got that. I feel vindicated in my lifelong Call of Duty hatred, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's a shame. But again, I won't be surprised if other studios, like, someone like EA might at some point look and say, hey, we lose a lot of money giving BioWare a blank check and then being bummed out every time they don't produce.
How have they not realized that yet?
So let's just, ditch them, or rather fold them into our FIFA team, and then we can just ride the FIFA horse all year long, and that's that.
Okay, well, this isn't going to happen, but can you imagine if the Mass Effect collection didn't sell well? Like, it's over. BioWare is toast, but...
They'll have Dragon Age 4 in the back pocket. I think that'll be the real make or break.
But I also think like Mass Effect collection is gonna sell gangbusters, so it's pointless.
Well, I think everyone at BioWare knows that they're next on the line. If these 2 games don't pan out, then that's that.
Wow. I mean, I think especially on PlayStation, there's no way to play the Mass Effect trilogy on PS5. So
yeah,
or PS4.
I think that will do extraordinarily well.
Me too.
That'll be the NPD bestseller of May.
Nope. Resident Evil 8: The Village will be that.
I
But
don't think so. I think Mass Effect will do better than that.
all right, bitch, it's on.
It's also just Resident Evil Village.
Whatever, it's the same thing.
I don't think everybody wants to be stomped on, so.
I'm tired of everyone online pretending to be horny about stepping on things.
I listened to Dan Reichert's new podcast, and he said the same thing. He said that he thinks people freaking out about the vampire in Resident Evil Village are just trying to fit in.
I completely agreed.
Well, of course, absolutely is true.
The whole step on me thing is so obnoxious. Like how, maybe 1% of you have a BDSM thing. Would you please stop? That's neither here nor. And they also think it's like a sense of humor thing. Like, oh, so funny. I want this tall lady to dominate me. Ha 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 ha.
She's really big.
I hate everybody, especially internet people. So I guess that will do it for us this week. You can reach us on Twitter at alltodaypod or an email alltodaypodcast@gmail.com. This is Derek.
Setzer.
And Cheston.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Adios.